the weird world of medical conundrums. Hello and welcome to the channel. In the grand, glittering world of medicine, where years of rigorous research and groundbreaking technologies are supposed to eradicate human suffering, there lies a very peculiar truth. The human body is, for lack of a better word, a bit of a troublemaker. It's like a well-intentioned but mischievous pet that refuses to be house-trained, no matter how many behaviorist seminars you attend. The body can be your best friend one moment, and then without warning turn on you with a mystery rash, inexplicable dizziness, or an organ that just refuses to cooperate. This is where the fascinating, often humorous world of medical conundrums enters. A conundrum, by definition, is something that puzzles or confuses. And let's face it, the human body can be as puzzling as trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while blindfolded. So buckle up as we take a humorous journey through some of the most perplexing, bizarre, and downright strange medical phenomena that have baffled even the most brilliant minds in science. From conditions that can make doctors scratch their heads to miraculous recoveries that leave everyone, except the patient apparently, stunned. The world of medicine is truly one of the greatest ongoing mysteries of our time. So let's dive right in. Entering the stage at number 1. It's the case of the phantom limb. Where's my leg, doc? Imagine losing a limb in an accident, but then strangely still feeling it, itching it, and even experiencing pain as if it was still there. No, this isn't the plot of a horror movie. It's a genuine condition called phantom limb syndrome. This condition happens when a person has unfortunately lost a limb and continues to feel sensations, usually pain, in the limb that's no longer attached. Now, the body might be confused here, but the mind, well, the mind's like that kid who wants to hold on to a broken toy just because it used to be fun. Essentially, the brain's sensory cortex still has maps for the limb that's missing. So it keeps sending signals as if it's still there. Basically, the nerves that run from the brain to the limb are still activated, even though the limb itself is no longer there. If you saw my video on dermatomes, perhaps you would understand better what I am talking about, what I'm referring to. Pause this video, go and look at the dermatomes video and come back. I'll wait for you. It's like you wake up and your brain goes, hey, what's that? Where's that hand I used to hold on to? And your phantom arm just responds, I'm over here doing important phantom things. To make things even more perplexing, some phantom limb sensations are described as feeling normal, while others are excruciating. The concept of a missing limb is strange enough, or rather, the concept of missing a limb is strange enough, but to feel it in a way that is not grounded in reality is nothing short of bizarre. How do you explain that to your doctor? Well, doc, I swear I can feel my hand trying to grab the steering wheel, even though it's not there. It's like a ghost driving my car, but I'm the one who has to pay for the speeding ticket. Researchers still aren't sure why this happens, but they speculate that the brain is just trying to fill in the gaps. So next time you find yourself wishing for a little more space in your brain's memory bank, be thankful that at least it hasn't forgotten a body part you don't even have anymore. Coming in at number 2, the curious case of exploding head syndrome. Boom. Did you hear that? Boom. Wait, no, it was just in my head. No, it's not a sequel to an action movie where a character's skull literally explodes. It's a real phenomenon called exploding head syndrome. Yes, it's as wild as it sounds. And yes, it's completely non-lethal, but still terrifying, of course. People with this condition experience loud noises like an explosion, a gunshot, or a thunderclap when they are just about to fall asleep or wake up. And here's the kicker. It's not real. It's just your brain throwing a party at an inconvenient time. Now, before you get too concerned, this doesn't mean you're turning into an action hero or going to develop superhuman sound-based abilities. Exploding head syndrome, EHS, is a form of what we call a hypnic jerk, the sensation of suddenly falling while you're sleeping, but with a little more dramatic flair. It's as though your body is trying to decide whether to take a nap or go to war. While doctors have yet to pinpoint the exact cause, stress, sleep deprivation, and even sudden muscle contractions have been linked to this startling phenomenon. Imagine you're lying in bed, just drifting off into peaceful slumber, when suddenly, bam, a sonic boom from your own brain. Your pulse races, your heart thumps, and you're lying there wide-eyed and questioning your entire existence. Was that the apocalypse? Or just me trying to sleep? Interestingly, EHS doesn't seem to cause any long-term harm, thank goodness. But if you happen to find yourself with your own personal fireworks while trying to catch some Z's, don't worry, you're not losing your mind. Your brain is just pulling a prank on you. Terrifying as it may sound, it is indeed completely harmless. Number 3 is Cotard syndrome. The I'm dead, but I'm not paradox. Imagine waking up one morning, looking in the mirror and deciding you're absolutely, irrevocably dead. Not just feeling dead or tired, but literally convinced that you are a ghost or a walking corpse. This is the chilling reality of Cotard syndrome, also known as walking corpse syndrome. Cotard syndrome is a rare neuropsychiatric condition where the patient believes that they are dead, or worse, that their organs have stopped working. Some individuals even report a sense of nothingness or lack of bodily existence. Now, imagine the kind of awkward dinner conversation that would follow if you were to pull this one on your family. Hey guys, I think I'm dead. Any chance someone can pass the potatoes? What's more bizarre is that despite the conviction that they are deceased, these patients can still be observed walking around, talking, and most importantly, eating, because even the dead need snacks. As you might imagine, this can make treatment a bit tricky, considering that convincing someone that they are alive is a little more challenging than explaining the basics of why you can't wear socks with sandals. It's like trying to explain to a cat that it's not a lion. They're not having it. While this condition is rare, thank God, it's been linked to brain damage, neurological conditions, and even severe depression. Some treatments involve antidepressants or antipsychotic medication, but it's still one of those mind-bending medical mysteries. How can someone believe they're dead and still want to eat lunch? It's like waking up with a list of existential crises and a side of fries. Number 4 on my list is alien hand syndrome. Who's controlling my hand? Here's a conundrum that sounds like it was ripped from a science fiction novel. Alien hand syndrome. This condition, much like it sounds, involves one of a person's hands acting as if it has a mind of its own. It moves, grasps, and manipulates objects independently of the person's control. In some cases, the afflicted hand might even try to strangle its owner, or undo buttons on clothing, as if trying to sabotage the entire outfit. Now, the logical part of your brain is probably screaming, "That's impossible. My hand is mine and I have complete control over it." But unfortunately, the brain sometimes likes to throw curveballs. Alien hand syndrome often occurs after brain surgeries, strokes, or injuries to the corpus callosum, the part of the brain that connects the left and right hemispheres. It's as though the hand, after being cut off from its usual brain directives, has decided to go rogue. For those who experience it, the condition can be maddening. Imagine sitting at a table, reaching for your cup of coffee, and suddenly realizing your hand has other plans, like grabbing the pen next to you and starting to write a letter to your ex. You try to stop it, but it's too late. You've already written, "Dear Greg, I'm sorry for everything." It's an uncooperative appendage that seems to have its own ideas about your personal space. It's a very, very distressing condition. Thankfully, again, very rare, but I think it's worth informing people about this. My whole channel is about information for things that are not very common. You know me already. Number 5 on my list is the mystery of the yawn. Why does it spread like wildfire? Yawning, which is an involuntary reflex that somehow always seems to occur at the most inappropriate times. You've probably heard of the idea that yawning is contagious. But why is this the case? Why does it seem like one person yawns and the next thing, half the room is yawning as though it's a synchronized sport? The phenomenon of contagious yawning has baffled scientists for years. You'll be pleased to know it's not just you. Some argue that it's linked to social bonding or empathy. When you are somehow of the same mind, of the same psychology, of the same purpose, if you're connected in some way. Somehow, when you see someone yawn, your brain subconsciously mimics it as a way of connecting. This is the most advanced theory about yawning. Others suggest that it's just a biological reflex passed down from our ancestors. After all, if one member of a group yawned as a signal for sleep, maybe everyone else would follow suit, ensuring the group remained safe and rested. But then you get the oddball out, those who, for reasons unknown, simply don't yawn when they see someone else do it. These rare individuals stand like the cool kids at the back of the class, completely immune to the yawn contagion. While the rest of us are practicing synchronized yawning, they remain stoic, probably secretly laughing at the rest of us yawning like a bunch of lemmings. In any case, yawning remains one of the most inexplicable human behaviors, and one that, like so many medical conundrums, continues to have researchers scratching their heads and yawning. Number 6, the mystery of foreign accent syndrome. Who's talking? Imagine one morning you wake up, speak to your friend, and suddenly realize you sound like you're straight out of a James Bond movie or something. Or worse, like you're in a parody of a James Bond movie where the accent is so over the top you're convinced your life's about to become a farce. Well, that's what can happen to people with foreign accent syndrome, FAS. A rare condition, again it's rare, thank God, where individuals start speaking with an accent they didn't have before, despite never having lived in the place where that accent originates. This bizarre phenomenon often occurs after a brain injury, stroke, or other neurological damage, particularly in areas of the brain responsible for speech and language. Suddenly, one's accent morphs, leaving the person sounding like they've traveled the world, when in reality, they've never left their hometown. People have woken up with suddenly distinctively French, British, or Australian accents, no matter where they're from originally. This can lead to some pretty awkward situations. Imagine a person from Ohio in the United States who has spent their entire life with an American accent, suddenly speaking in what sounds like a very thick German accent. People might start asking questions like, when did you move to Germany? Or, wait, did you just move in with a bunch of German exchange students? Meanwhile, the person with the new accent is completely baffled themselves. I swear, I haven't even been to Europe. I don't know what's going on. In most cases, the cause is thought to be due to damage to specific areas in the brain responsible for controlling the muscles involved in speech. Some argue that it's also a result of the brain trying to compensate for communication difficulties after a trauma, almost like a desperate attempt at giving a new flair to an otherwise ordinary conversation. While it may sound like a gift from the gods of comedy, FAS can be incredibly frustrating for those who experience it. Patients have reported feeling alienated or ridiculed for their new, unexpected voices. But on the other hand, imagine the potential upsides. You could start getting discounts on your coffee for sounding exotic. Or perhaps more importantly, be the most fascinating person at any party when people ask you where you get your accent from. Just be ready with a good story to back it up. In other news, this phenomenon can occasionally happen after heart transplant. In my video on exactly this phenomenon, we talk about other things that can happen after a heart transplant or any other organ transplant for that matter, but particularly heart, where not only accents can change, but whole personalities can also change. So be sure to look at that video. I put it up here in a card. Finally, I have a peculiar one. Capgras syndrome. Wait, you're not my wife? One of the eeriest and downright unsettling conundrums in psychiatry is Capgras syndrome, where a person believes that someone close to them, typically a spouse, family member, or close friend, has been replaced by an imposter. Yes, you heard that right. The person insists that someone they love has been swapped out for a lookalike. It's like the plot of a psychological thriller, but unfortunately, it's a real medical condition. Capgras syndrome is often associated with schizophrenia, brain injury, or neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's disease. Essentially, the person suffering from the condition might look at their spouse and say, "Nope, you are not her. You might look like her, but you are not the real deal." This, of course, can lead to all kinds of emotional turmoil and confusion, not to mention a lot of awkward family gatherings. Can you imagine a holiday dinner where someone insists, "I don't know who you are, but I want my real brother back"? The psychological mechanism behind Capgras syndrome is believed to stem from a disconnect between the emotional recognition of faces and the cognitive recognition. In other words, the brain recognizes the face of a loved one, but doesn't feel the emotional connection to it. Without that emotional recognition, the brain jumps to the conclusion that the person must have been replaced by an imposter. It's like your brain is playing a game of guess who and gets stuck on the "who is this person really" part. While the condition can be extremely distressing for both the sufferer and their loved ones, it's a great reminder that our brains are pretty good at making up stuff to cope with the things it doesn't quite understand. So before you get too angry about someone not recognizing you, remember, your brain may just be trying to protect you from a very odd and inconvenient reality. I am a fan of the weird and the wonderful in medicine, but even I am flabbergasted by this list of wonderful weirdness. Do you know of any other weird and wonderful phenomena in medicine that leave you scratching your head and reaching for the smelling salts? If that's the case, I would love to hear from you. Do comment below. Let me know what you have encountered that seems strange or inexplicable. Well, my list doesn't end here. Keep watching this space, for I bring you another helping of weird and wonderful very shortly. In any case, you know what to do if you have any medical questions for me. Just ask a doc.